Welcome again to another edition of Inside Richmond Football with head coach Tony Lewis. This week going to be a busy week. It is homecoming week, and so a lot of distractions this week. We'll get to those in just a couple of moments. Red Devils coming off a loss on the road at Marion. Tough place to play. A Marion Giants football team that I don't think they've given up a point at home yet this year. Coach, let's go back to Friday. I guess it was kind of a perfect storm in a lot of ways for them, simply from the standpoint they're fired up about homecoming. They haven't given up any points this year at home. They got into the top 10 poll in the coach's side, so everything kind of rolling their way, and you make the quarterback change, and so you're going through some adjustments as well. Was that kind of a perfect storm for them?
Well, it probably was, and they set the tone early. They had some big hits early, had a big hit on Julian in the first series there that kind of set the tone on how they were going to play defense. And our kids, to be honest with you, didn't respond. We weren't physical enough. We didn't block and tackle. And if you don't block and tackle in football, you're not going to do well. So it was a perfect storm. They've got some players, obviously, some great talent. Comparatively speaking, after seeing them Friday night and playing against Lawrence North, I'm not so sure if Marion's at full strength with their tailback and their defensive end who was out, number 8. If they're full strength, I'm not so sure they don't beat Lawrence North by a couple touchdowns. That's how good I think they are. So we didn't play well. Obviously, kids didn't come out and play physical, and we had a lot of mistakes. And, again, we're playing – as bad teams play, making mistakes and not being physical. So we've got to remedy those two things.
Coach, again, you're talking about a team that is going really where they are is where you want to be. And they went through these pains a few years ago trying to turn their program around. So you kind of know exactly where you guys are and where you want to be. So you see that platform, what they've got right now.
Right. And they've got some guys that have obviously been in the weight room. Yeah. They're strong, fast, and physical. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to do a great job in the weight room and in the off season and during season. We continue to lift during the season, hoping to get stronger. We work a lot of speed and agility drills in the weight room as well. So we see where we want to get to. It's going to be a process, obviously. It's not going to be an overnight thing. We've talked about that as well. Yeah. But it's something as a coach you get frustrated when you don't feel like we're doing what we need to do. We're not following kind of what we've been taught in practice. And, again, that comes back on me. We've got to do a better job of conveying what we want done, and we've got to do a better job with our practice in terms of how physical we're being in practice, the techniques we're using in practice, and getting across to the kids the importance of focusing on the little things. Yeah. So eventually we'll get there, but obviously it didn't happen Friday night.
Yeah. Coach, let's talk about just the mindset now. You're over halfway now through the regular season. You have 4 games remaining. Let's start with the players first, and then I want to talk a little bit about how you're holding up through all this because it is difficult, I know, as a head coach. How do you see the players now from the standpoint you've seen them through 5 games? How are they holding up?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think first and foremost, we talk about being positive with one another. You can't go anywhere if you're going to be complaining about the guy next to you, or if you're being negative with each other, if you're not buying into what we're trying to do on all 3 sides of the ball. So number one, first and foremost, and the coaches have to do it too, we have to remain positive. Number 2, we talked to our kids on Saturday. We still have some winnable games left, without a doubt. The remaining schedule, we have winnable games, and we need to step on the field believing we can win. And our kids, confidence-wise, obviously coming off a tough loss, losing 57-0 to a really good team will shake your confidence. So we've got to get our players built back up and make them understand if we do certain things the way we are capable of doing them, then we can compete with people. So I think remaining positive as a staff and as an overall program, and secondly, understanding that if you continue to do what you need to do and improve weekly, that we want to be playing our best football at the end of the year. Obviously, I feel like this past week we kind of took a step back. I thought, we made some mistakes against Muncie Central, but I thought we played hard, gave ourselves an opportunity to win the game. So we've got to get back in the mode of putting ourselves in successful positions to make that happen.
Do you, being around these young men as much as you are, do you get a sense of what they're thinking right now? I don't know how much you do one-on-ones at this point or anything, but do you get a sense of how they're feeling?
Well, I think you do through body language, through how kids respond to each other, how they respond to coaching. So again, we have to, as a staff, and myself being part of that and the head of that, we have to convey things that we feel like are important. Number one, with how we practice, with the technique that we use in practice, with the effort and attitude that we have during practice. That has to be out in front. And, it goes back to, again, at the first sentence was, how do you block, how do you tackle? Yeah. And we've got to do a better job of blocking. We've got to do a better job of tackling. Can't tell you the number of missed tackles we have, and I can't tell you the number of missed blocks we had. So it comes back to fundamentals, and that's something that we'll start practice with all week and probably from here on out on how do we block, how do we tackle, and let's work from the ground up.
Yeah. From a coaching standpoint, how are you holding up at this stage?
Hey, the sun is out. I'm alive. I'm above ground. It's a good day. So I've got a great wife. I've got a great support system here at the school. The administration's great. Everybody is supportive. We've got great teachers here. We've got good kids. So, we've just got to continue to work at it. It is what it is, and it will continue to be until we get to a level where we can compete daily and push each other. Another thing that we're kind of running up against is we're very thin in a lot of positions. So competition is what drives great programs. So we've got to build our numbers so we can have competition. Right now we don't have as much competition as we'd like because of our number situation. But I'm doing great. Again, the sun came out. We tell our kids all the time, we're going to get on you, but the next day is a new day. So it's a new day. It's a new week, and we've got to get better than we were last week, and that's a daily process.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I used to tell players that when I stop talking to you, that's when you should worry, right?
Right,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And unfortunately, we're not only talking, but with my voice, we're yelling. So I think they understand we still care about them. That we want what's best for them, and we want what's best for the overall program.
Yeah. Before we take a break, and I want to say two things. Number one, even though, and people will tell me, listen, I know that was a tough loss, but I see bright future coming. And so they know that the work you and your staff are putting in to turn this program around is something everybody sees. That has to make you feel pretty good, doesn't it?
It does, and you get people come up or through emails or phone calls or personally come up and say, hey, we can see what's going on. Keep your head up, and that's always encouraging because it is easy to get down after a tough loss. But Saturday we had to get over it and start studying McCUTCHEON and see what they do well and kind of how we can counteract what they do well and with what we can hopefully do well. So you basically have Friday night and Saturday morning to watch the film, dissect it, go through what we can change, and then from 1 o'clock on, it's on to the next opponent. So you don't have time to worry about the last opponent. It's a new day.
Yeah. By the way, one more thing if I can, and that's your young coaching staff. You got a lot of young guys in there that you meet with every Sunday, and you talk about everything. And how are they holding up, knowing that some of them may have not gone through something like this before?
Well, I think they're doing a great job, and I think you bring up a staff that is a great staff. Yeah. I think first and foremost, they have our kids' best interests at heart. They work hard at it. I just got done telling our kids yesterday. I said, I don't think you understand how much time the assistants put into trying to put you in position to be successful. They're in here on Sundays. They're in talking on Saturdays. Throughout the week, we stay after and talk about what went on during practice, what was good, what was bad, how can we improve. So we've got a great staff, and they give our kids energy. It is a young staff, which is good with an old man like me, and Coach Irwin and myself are the kind of the elder statesmen. Yeah. So having young coaches is good, and I think our kids relate well to them, and I think our coaching staff as a whole does a good job of still understanding that everybody is termed in terms of it's Coach Curtis, it's Coach Irwin, it's Coach Cordova. It's I'm not your friend, I'm your coach, and we're going to have to coach you up and do what's best for the team.
That's exactly right. All right, when we come back, it is homecoming week, as we mentioned. That means, number one, you still play a football game. You got to prepare for that, and you got to get ready for all the festivities surrounding that. We'll talk about that coming up next, right here on Inside Richmond Football and Radio Troy Digital Sports.
For the past 35 years, Van Vliet Insurance has built a reputation of bringing a personal touch. That's because at Van Vliet, it's all about you, your needs, your life, and our town. Along with providing quality coverage to individuals, families, and local businesses, we're proud of our community and the opportunity we have to protect your future within it. Van Vliet Insurance, an Erie Insurance representative. Hometown professionals at work for you.
The Indiana Football Hall of Fame in Richmond, Indiana was founded in 1973. Its mission is to honor the men and women who have excelled in high school, college, or professional football based on their coaching, athletic ability, citizenship, scholarship, and significant supporting contributions to the game of football. The Indiana Football Hall of Fame includes retrospection from Indiana's prestigious football history, from the late 1800s to the present. When you visit the hall, you'll see the names like Weebu Bank, Vegas Ferguson, Newt Rockne, and Lamar Lundy. The Indiana Football Hall of Fame is located at 815 North A Street in Richmond and is open Tuesday through Saturday from 11 a.m. until 5 p.m. There is no entrance fee and donations are appreciated. Take time to visit Indiana football history at the Indiana Football Hall of Fame.
All right, McCutcheon in town this week, Coach. Before we get to McCutcheon, let's talk about everything surrounding it. It's a part of the game that you have to deal with as a head coach. Right. The players have to deal with it as players. So focus really is going to be huge for Friday night.
It will, and it's something that we've already discussed on Saturday morning. With it being homecoming week, you have distractions. We're doing things like Monday afternoon. Some players and myself and the cheerleaders and the cheerleading coach are going over to decorate Charles School, do some painting for that. But it's things that the kids enjoy, and the younger kids enjoy seeing the older kids come over, and hopefully our older kids are being good role models for them. But leads into the parade on Wednesday and dealing with homecoming festivities on Friday. So as we told our players, it's okay to enjoy homecoming. We want to enjoy homecoming. But homecoming is also a lot more enjoyable when you win the football game. Yeah. So, we want our focus to be on football. Obviously, we're starting a new 6 weeks grading period, so we want to get off on a good start that way in terms of our grades. But, it does bring a lot of distractions. But when it's football time, when you walk through that door, it's football time. For that 2.5 hour period, you need to be focused on football and the homecoming stuff. Take part in it, have fun, but understand we have a football game to play.
Yeah, McCutcheon, pretty good football team. You may say, well, they're not as good as maybe they were last year. Their record indicates that they're not, but bottom line is that's a football program and it's a football school.
It's a good football program, and they're well coached.
Yeah.
Obviously, from watching film, they've got a very athletic quarterback that can throw the ball. They've got some athletes at receiver. They've got a good, sturdy running back. I wouldn't say he's a guy that's going to that like we played last week, but he's a good high school running back, and their quarterback makes everything go. He throws the ball around a little bit. They'll run quarterback counter tray with him. Heck of a runner, heck of a thrower. I'm sure he's a great leader. He's a senior. Defensively, they're aggressive, well hitting, a good hitting team. They wrap up, they get to the ball. They play what I would call a 3-3 stack with an extra linebacker kind of in the middle. They call it a 3-4, but and they've got guys that do a good job in space. Very smart, heady football team, and you can tell from film they're well coached. So our kids will need to come ready to play, and it should be a good week for us. it sounds like we're going to have great weather, so we can't complain about the weather in terms of practice.
Good. Last thing, you made the quarterback change last week, and Julian started at quarterback for you. Talk about the change, and I'm assuming then you're certainly wanting to develop him the rest of the year, and he's going to be your starter for the rest of the season? Or?
Well, we went into the game. We wanted to make some changes. We wanted to see what Julian could do. Julian took a hit early on the game that I don't know if that affected him or what. He struggled. Our offensive line struggled. We all struggled offensively and defensively. So, that was something that we spoke about in our meeting today is, we're looking at all options.
Right.
Alec played quarterback, did a pretty good job. Julian came in, and we haven't. Zach Hill has played quarterback for us as well, and Zach gives us a different dimension in terms of throwing the football. So all those options were weighed today in our coaching meeting. So all those options will be looked at this week in practice.
Okay, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thank you very much. Go Red
right.
Devils.
There you go. Again, Friday night we'll have the game for you again as always right here on Radio Troy Digital Sports.